in the early 1980s, technology was starting to take some serious strides. The space shuttle went to space, the IBM personal computer was first released, and engineers over in Japan working at Sony were developing some very interesting stuff. And one of those was this, the Sony Watchman. And these were small battery-operated portable televisions. They had an actual CRT tube inside of here, although a very strange one. And you could bring this with you for whatever reason. Maybe you had a picnic down at the park with your family and instead you want to watch the sports game. Well, you could bring this thing along with you. So these are really cool little devices. They were able to fit a lot of functionality kind of into a relatively small, somewhat portable package. But there's one problem with them in the modern era. They don't work anymore because the analog broadcast television signal that they work off of is no longer broadcast in most countries. I believe there is still a couple of countries which broadcast analog TV. Apparently North Korea still does, so possibly if you take this there, you can watch some lovely propaganda on it, although you might have other problems at that point. So what can you do with one of these? It does seem like a shame to just throw out this very interesting piece of technology, and that got me thinking, could we just put a standard composite input to this? I mean, I think it should work because they do actually, I mean, broadcast television or the old analog broadcast TV was effectively a composite signal, but just sent over the airwaves. So what we just have to do is find the point which it goes from the tuning side into the actual television side that builds the picture. And instead of injecting the tune signal, we just force our own into that. So I don't think this should be too hard, but you never know, especially with a TV that is at this point pushing 40 years old. So yeah, let's get started. Let's see how it goes, and I'll take you along with me. Now, I will have a quick note about safety. CRTs are dangerous, so if you are working on them, make sure you take the proper precautions. Discharge the tube, do not work on them when they're plugged into mains, all that sort of stuff. This is a small battery-operated one, but it will still give you a pretty good shock. So take the proper precautions and don't be silly around them. So if we open this up, you can see there is a lot going on. I was kind of hoping there would just be a line marked video out that I could just cut and interrupt, but it turns out that it's slightly more complicated than that, to no one's surprise. So you can see there's two separate boards here, the top board and then kind of a main motherboard. And originally I wasn't quite sure, but I think that the top board is some sort of tuning system, and then the bottom board is what drives the actual CRT picture. So I think we should be able to figure out what goes where and kind of remove this top board, hopefully, and then and then be able to splice our own connectors into here. So here with it open, you can see the really interesting CRT layout. So unlike a standard CRT that has a phosphor-coated glass front face, here it shoots out along this and then hits this face of this, the kind of back of this tube. So we're actually looking through the electron beam into this screen here. So it's got the phosphor-coated kind of rectangle there. This is really interesting. I do wonder if there's like some different driver circuitry in here, because I would imagine you would have to have the beam deflect much more at the bottom than the top of this. Otherwise you'd have a very kind of squished image because you're cutting it at quite an angle, right? It's very interesting. Maybe there's some like crazy keystone adjustments on this. So then I found this online. So this is a schematic for the same TV I have. So there is a lot going on here. And originally I was like, wow, there's no way I can figure this out. But actually it's not that complicated if we break it down. So we've got a couple big blocks here. You can see these are integrated circuits, here, here, and here. But the important part here is you can actually see these are labeled, so they have the different board names. So there's A board, D board, and it looks like this is mostly the CRT driver. So you can see actually here's the rear section of our CRT, so our electron gun and some other stuff here. And then you can see the coils are down here. And then this looks like it's the tuner. It's got an antenna here, and then a couple other other switches for external antenna. And actually, if we go in here, we can zoom in, and we can see this says video. And then right underneath it we have audio as well. And then there's a ground, this one which is plus B, and then 32 volts. Honestly, these ones don't really matter. These are going to be the three important ones. So if we have a video, audio, and ground, we should be able to run this to just interrupt these and feed our own signal into here. So I just cut out that upper board, the A board here from the CRT, and you can see it's actually labeled really nicely with video. And then audio is this white one here, and then up here we have ground as well, which is black. And then this is some potentiometers, a jack. I'm guessing there's some tuning circuitry in here. Honestly, it doesn't really matter too much because we should be able to just splice directly into that, put an RCA plug on the outside, and then plug anything into this, and it should work. All right, now that we have the video, audio, and ground wires here, we can try and put some sort of signal into this. So I have this little thing, which is actually a converter box, but when it's not connected to anything, it has a little test signal. So we'll connect this RCA cable, which is going to be cut there, to the ground and video lines here, and then see if we get an image on the screen. All right, here we go. Oh, it's alive. Don't see any signal yet, but we'll let it warm up and see what happens. Well, we're getting some sort of image on the screen. It's not very focused, but it does look correct. It's got the test bars, and in one corner I think it says no signal, but we can't quite see. Interestingly, if we switch this from PAL to NTSC, it still actually displays an image, although now it's flickery. Which is interesting. I thought this would be an NTS set, but maybe it has the chipset to work with both. I think some of these did because they were designed for traveling. But yeah, it's really interesting. But let's let this warm a bit more. I'll see if it needs any adjustments. And then we can put some plugs on it and we'll be good to go. This has a pretty clear signal now. It's a bit hard to see on the camera, but it's quite solid, and the cutoff on the top is only there because of the frame rate. I can't quite sync it up. There's a couple extra holes in this case here that I won't be using. This one was for the external antenna jack, and it's pretty much exactly the right size for this RCA plug. And then the actual antenna spot here is also a pretty good fit. So if I can wire in from the back, I'll attach these two, and they can be our audio in and our video signal in. So there we have it, a completely finished Sony portable CRT with an audio and a video jack. So let's test it out. I've got a DVD player. I don't actually own a DVD player, so I had to go to the thrift store and buy this one, an entire $12.99.
Oh, sure. I've been working on Magnum for at least the last 8 or 9 years.
Magnum? That's intriguing. Can I see that?
Are you kidding? I shouldn't even be talking about it.
And there you have it, a functional, although somewhat terrible, little CRT monitor you can bring with you. Although the picture quality is surprisingly good on this. So what can you do with this? Well, I don't really have a good answer for that, but I do have a couple ideas, so we'll see what happens down the road. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.